Cool.
Thank you, American voice. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, well,
And
let's
how are you?
I'm okay. Let's do a little intro and then let's start with those four formalities. Are you ready for this, Miles? This is the first of many.
Yeah, brother. Let's do it.
Okay, right. It's recording. Is it recording? Okay, perfect. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, internet world. Hello, Open Up Healing community. Hello, Open Up Dad community. And hello, everyone else who's just stumbled across this maybe one Sunday. This is Wellness Watch. Wellness Watch is kind of like Wayne's World meets wellness. That's kind of how I'm imagining how this goes. It's basically myself, Samuel Turrell. I'm the founder of Open Up Healing, and the remarkable presenter, editor, father, man of a million talents, Miles Garber, basically talking about life and talking about how we're just figuring things out during this wild journey that is life, and how we're basically making it up as we go along during our 30s, and seeing how everyone else is doing out there as we check in, we talk recipes, we talk well-being, and yeah, just trying to explore being the best versions of ourselves. Would you agree, Miles?
I think you nailed it. Look at how much gusto you have today.
Got a little pop in my step today. I just nailed an espresso before I came on here, which is going against one of my cardinal rules, actually, is never drink coffee after 5 p.m. But
Yeah, I have that too, because then I just don't sleep.
exactly. But you know what? Today's just kind of like I'm just throwing a flame to some petrol. I've gone a little bit crazy, and here we are. Oh, before we carry on, I must admit I need to turn off WhatsApp off my computer, because otherwise I'm just going to be popping away the whole time. So Miles, let's jump straight in. How are you doing, buddy? How's your week?
My week has not been the best week I've ever had, to be quite honest with you. Think I'm still trying to figure out my life. After, I have a kid who I love, but she's crawling and standing and doing her thing. And, I have a lot of responsibilities aside from just being a dad. And, I'm just still trying to figure out how to do it all. Like, there's days where, I don't get anything done that I'd like to. And there's days where I'm like feeling like you, just like, rah! And, I'm still trying to figure that out for myself and trying to like be easy on myself, but it's hard, like I feel a lot of pressure maybe from myself. But
Sure,
this week has been tough. This week has definitely not been cool.
Yeah, crikey. I mean, it's so wild, right? I mean, how we can go through these kind of like various different roller coasters of emotions. Like one week we can feel like we're absolutely crushing it and nailing it, and another week it's the complete polar opposite. And I think that, like, this week I've been speaking to a lot of friends who are really struggling post-COVID,
Yeah.
because everything has started to open up and everything has started to kind of like move, and there's becoming like some momentum, and people are like, crikey, I don't know if I'm ready for all of this.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that like a few days ago. I feel like so much of my life started in COVID. It's like I became a father, like, we started open up stuff, like I started other companies, like, work life. It felt like I really like went through this renaissance, and I started getting really anxious because I was like, man, like, is my life going to be super different when the world opens up? It's almost like Stockholm syndrome. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm good when the world isn't this thing where you stay in your house. Like, maybe no one cares about what I have to say. Maybe like I'm an idiot. Like, I don't know. Because, when you're just on Zoom and on the phone all the time, like, you kind of get good at it. And then you go into the real world and you're like, oh, like, people, like, it's a real thing. It's a real, like, it's not just like Zoom. It's like, man, people smell weird. People act weird. People like have opinions that like maybe you don't like people are really showing themselves, and it's so funny you bring that up because I was just like, man, what if like the world opens up and all of this goes away?
I know it's such a difficult thing, isn't it? I mean, it's the first time ever, really, I feel like kind of pretty much in human history. I mean, there's been pandemics before, but none quite like this on a global scale, you know?
And it was never during a time where we had access to so much technology. I mean, look, on the reversal of that, like I can't imagine if I was like single and by myself for a year and a half. Like, like I'm busy, like I have a baby, like I have so many distractions from quarantine. Like quarantine to me was like I didn't think about it because I had to, like, even without quarantine I'd be at home, right? But I can't imagine what it feels like to be like our age, single, going out for the first time in a year and a half, meeting someone. I mean, it must feel amazing.
I mean, I'm I
Like
mean,
it does.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I think you can go down two different paths, and I've definitely noticed this with my relationships with some of my friends, that some of them, they're tentatively going and creeping back in. They're kind of, they're
Yeah.
feeling all the feels, and all of those feelings that they're feeling are so super valid. Again, that kind of very much that disposition of being 1 minute like this is amazing, and then the next minute having a sense of overwhelming fear or anxiety. And
Yeah.
I think that, luckily although I have felt some of those things, I think over the past kind of 6 weeks, I've tried to just throw myself into situations, but at no point throw myself into a situation that I know prior that I might feel uncomfortable in. Do you know what I mean? So for instance, like, I haven't been to kind of like any large scale gatherings or anything else like that. I've kind of just been kind of, with crew that I love, kind of still incorporating a lot of my own kind of space and my own kind of self-care. And I think that way I've kind of created this sense of momentum and positivity throughout the kind of like re-emergence from what was a very kind of like, I mean, I lived back with my parents for 7 months. I'm the epitome of single. Do you know what I mean? I think that my virginity has grown back, but that's okay. We're out here trying to figure that out. So if there's any young ladies out there who want to give me a call me. Joking. But or am I? I don't know. But yeah, bro, I completely and utterly I completely relate to where you're feeling. So what do you think's been one of your biggest takeaways from this week?
I think I'm still figuring it out, man. I mean, like, one hand, I feel very grateful with like how busy we are. A lot to do and like a lot of exciting stuff that we're trying to do, and it's been like kind of a revolution. Sorry, there's like I'm sitting in my yard and it is like full mosquito hour. I don't know why.
No. Your life.
Anyways, and like that's exciting, and like there's other things that I'm excited about, and like I feel very grateful, like professionally, let's say. And then on top of that, it's like my kid is always laughing and talking and like jotting around, and it makes me happy to know that like I have a really happy baby. But it's like I'm still, a therapist told me a very long time ago, she was like, do not make your life complicated. And what I was like, what do you mean? Like, life is so complicated. Like, even if you sit in your yard for a week straight, like there'll be complications. It's just part of being a human being. Like, we are complex mammals. And she was like, what I'm saying is like, you don't need a bunch of stuff and a bunch of this and a bunch of that to make yourself happy, because what that ends up doing is actually just stressing you out more. Like, the more bills you have to pay, the harder your life is. The more stuff you have, the harder your life is. The harder it is to walk through your house, the harder your life is. Like, and I've been thinking about that a lot. It's like, how do I make my life busy and fulfilling in the way I want it to be, but like not make it too complicated. And I think that's really hard, because I think, especially, in our society, like Paris, LA, London, whatever, like being busy is fulfilling. Like, you should be busy. Like, and it's something I struggle with a lot because it's like I like doing these things and I like filling my time with them, but it's like I still have to make time for my family. I still have to make time to like clean. I still have to make time to like shower. Like, even you being like, I just took a shower. I was like, wow, that must be so cool. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even have time to take showers sometimes. And like, I'm not mad at it, but I think my takeaway is like, how do I find like even a resemblance of balance? Because it's not going to be like tomorrow I'm a master of this. It's
Mm.
going to be a ladder. And it's like, I have to get on the first step and then the second step. And I think right now I'm like just approaching the first step of that balance. And it's tough, man. It's really tough.
For sure, man. I mean, I think that's, I mean, you kind of touched upon like about what we're trying to do at Open Up. And, I think that this new segment that obviously we're launching today and we're starting to talk with Wellness Watch is
Hmm.
going to be very much that, it's very authentic, it's very real, and it is us figuring it out as we go along. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's us figuring out business. That's us figuring out relationships. That's us figuring out what product to kind of cleanse our pores with. That's what product, to kind of like, it's all of those, it's
Yeah.
all of those things that I think that, again, for guys, especially guys our age, there's not always that accessibility. There's been accessibility, I remember, I mean, we've had like maybe a magazine like GQ or something like that that's kind of given us the blanket kind of like, here's what you should do, 5 tips kind of thing. But I feel that as men, we haven't really had that kind of helping hand in kind of like showcasing us how we make time for ourselves or what that should look like. It has very much been like, this is what it looks like as a man to succeed and to live a man's life. You know what I mean? And
I think I've noticed that a lot lately as well, is like, especially post COVID and like, living in like the era that we live in, it's like, I think men get like just a few boxes to live inside. And it's like, I don't feel like I want to live inside any of those boxes. I know you don't. Like, and I think that's it too, is like when we talk about these things, it's funny because like me, like I
mm,
hate being like the male brain. Like I think it's like it just bothers me. But like
okay.
I think it's true that like when you're going through these feelings, especially coming out of COVID, like figuring out a schedule, like figuring out your balance, it's like you are also battling a society, like a societal male brain that's telling you like this is good, like you be busy, like. And when you're someone like, who maybe doesn't relate, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who do relate to that, but I'm not one of those people. It
Mm,
makes it that much harder, because then it's like that little voice in your head is like, why can't you do this? Everyone does it. Every guy can do this. And it's like, how do you get rid of that voice while finding your own thing? And I think that's the biggest thing that at least we're constantly talking about, is like, I think all these things, we have to normalize them being individual. Like, it's
for
not
sure.
about what you tell me to do and what I tell you to do. I could give you some tips. You could
Hmm.
give me some tips, but it's like, how do you, Sam, find your personal balance, your personal thing? And how
Mm.
do we like uplift people to reach that? Because I think even what you said about how you've only been traveling in your circle, like big groups still kind of freak you out. It's like that takes so much confidence to say that. And it's like, it makes me really proud of you, because you're like, hey, this is like where I'm at with this. Like, this is me
Sure.
transitioning in. But I don't think a lot of people have that confidence or are given that confidence to be like, hey, you can really go about this in your way,
Mm.
because COVID has been so politicized and it's been so like, you know, like it's just created this new I hate the word new normal, but like it's created
Mm.
like a literal new world. And it's like we have to encourage people to walk into that world as their own thing. And that goes for men and women, because it's not the same anymore. There's no going back. And also, like, maybe we don't want to go back to the way things were, because I don't really think you and I would have wellness watch without COVID. And we
No.
could also take positives from COVID too. We could take also positives from just being like the modern man that we are. Like
Yeah.
we can use that as a positive. It doesn't have to be like, oh, they're really sensitive. I mean, we are very sensitive, but like it doesn't have to always be this stupid definition.
Exactly. I mean, amen, brother. I mean, you nailed it. One of the things that I have had to describe to people over, because as I've recently come over. For those who don't know, I've just escaped to Europe for the summer and come to Paris, and I've got a lot of friends here, so I've been meeting up with some of them. And one of the things that I've had to consistently kind of justify over the last couple of weeks is, what it's like when you sit down with a group of mates and stuff like that. They can be like, so what's the girl situation like? Have you met anyone? Have you been hooking up with anyone? I haven't been with a partner for a while now, and I'm completely comfortable in saying that. I'm not really looking for anything. I'm really happy by myself right now. And if something happens, cool, it happens. But am I a little bit scared of intimacy? Probably, because I haven't had any for like a long period of time, being single and in confinement. But at the same time, I've actually, during COVID, really adapted to the sensibility of just being by myself and being super comfortable with myself, enjoying my sleep, enjoying my own space. That it's created this kind of, I'm not seeking it. And it's been a really interesting conversation coming out of what we've just come out of, to consistently have to justify, and again, I think that falls back into that bracket of what you're saying about kind of like, as men and as modern men, for us having to justify that, if we haven't got a partner, or we're not out there kind of like consistently seeking sex or whatever, everyone's kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
what's going on with you? Do you know what I mean? And that's something that I've noticed this week.
And it's so funny because I have the opposite, right? It's like I'm married with a baby, and I'm trying to find the time for intimacy because I don't have time.
Yeah, right on.
Like the other day, we were like, let's save it and like just say getting intimate, and like immediately my daughter started crying and woke up, and I was like,
It
what
is what it is.
is what it is. But like, it's funny because I think that's it too. It's like I've noticed a lot in men, either men kind of come over to like really figuring themselves out, and like I've seen a lot of dudes grow their hair out, and maybe I think that's kind of a metaphor for like, hey, I'm just figuring this out for myself now. I'm defining who I am. But I've seen a lot of men go the other way, where it's all of a sudden it's now like I'm going to the bar and I'm gonna fucking get girls and like
Yeah.
ah. And I'm just, I think it's just it goes to show you again. It's like we've just trained men in such a terrible way. Like
Yeah.
we've trained this huge group of humans to like think that they need things that are so fleeting. Like personally, if a guy talked about my daughter the way that I've heard men talk about women, I would result to physical violence. And I'm not a physical violent person, but like I would end his career.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And like I hate that because that's also me being a guy, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I'm really interested to see how this goes, because I also think that like what a cool time to be alive, because society is shifting away from that too. Like if you do go to a bar and act that way, your chances of one even making a friend, let alone having a relation with someone, is so slim now. Because who the hell wants to deal with that, especially coming out of COVID?
Exactly.
So
I
it's
mean,
kind
it's
of interesting.
it's so
But
true.
it's because I know you very well. I know most of your friends pretty well too. And I know you guys aren't like that. But you're
Yeah,
still, the first question you're being asked is that.
I know.
That's
It's wild.
insane. That
Yeah.
sucks. I think
It's,
that's
I mean, yeah, it's what I mean. It's what I mean. I guess it's kind of, it's the normal. Again, it's saying normal. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of like we always go through when we catch up with someone. We go through those kind of those set questions, don't we? Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of, as soon as you throw a little curveball in there, everyone's kind of like, oh, I mean, like, for instance, like I've stopped drinking this year.
Yeah, I know.
In kind of like a wild one as well.
smoking and drinking still, but whatever.
That's whatever, you know. But like again, like that's another kind of trigger question that as soon as you say to someone, I'm not drinking anymore, or you know, I've paused on my alcohol,
Yeah,
everyone's like, whoa, like what's going on there? You know?
right. Because immediately now you're an addict,
Exactly.
and it's man, I love these conversations because it's stuff. It's funny how we don't think about these things even in like social settings. It's like, you know, by the way, Sam and I are about to be in Spain together and we're gonna do a show there. And like you best believe I'm going to be drinking all of the wine I can and like having a good time because I'm at a point in my life where like I do those things because I enjoy them. It's not because like you asked me to, it's not because I should, it's not because I'm in Spain, like just let it go. It's because like I like to like have fun that way. And
Exactly.
like, but it's funny because it's like if and when we do the show, if I'm drinking and you're not, the immediate response is going to be either Miles is a drunk
Mm.
or Sam used to be a drunk and now is sober.
There's a little bit of truth in one of those faces, I can assure you.
But I'm just saying, like, that's also it though. It's like we
Yeah,
can never just, I don't know, like maybe we're reaching too far here, but it's like we can never just kind of like walk into a situation and let it be what it is. And I think that's something I'd really love to see after COVID is like everyone needs to be encouraged to deal with themselves in any way that they can. Like for
exactly.
you, it was like no more booze, a lot of yoga, a lot of breathing, a lot of
Mm.
like solitude at your mom's house. Like, and that's what worked for you. And like for me, it was like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna sit in my backyard and like be in peace for a second and like maybe have some wine or maybe have some tea or like smoke my stupid e-cig. Like I don't know, but I think it's like we all know like drinking's bad, we all know smoking's bad, we all know everything's bad or good, but it's like what if we really start focusing on the gray area of like this has been such an individual experience, so like we have to let people have their individual experience.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm so stoked that you brought that up. I'm actually going to use this moment just to say though that these a little left a bit, but these
Pepe, hit us up.
what's up? But these 0% alcohol again has been a game changer because you know I still love being able to kind of kick back with my friends and feel like I'm kind of enjoying some of the social situations.
Yeah.
And for me to then be able to have kind of like some sort of beer in my hand, even though it's 0% alcohol, I mean, and I swear to God, there's like a placebo effect that happens that makes me feel like I'm drinking. It kind of
Yeah.
like, again, helps reduce that kind of
Mhm.
stigma of that guy's not drinking. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the questions that get attached to that. So on that note, thank you, Lethe. I'm gonna.
Well, it's so funny because for you it's like 4 p.m. and for me it's like 9:30 in the morning. So I'm like,
Again, it's Sam, the ex-alcoholic. Now I'm gonna stand up as if I'm in a bar and talk to you, but just kicking back. But it's interesting that you say that about the, you know, about the personal journeys, and that's something that I've had a conversation with one of my friends who I'm traveling with right now as well. You know, he had a very different COVID experience to mine. You know, he was with his partner and doing his thing, and you know, he never really had the opportunity to have any kind of alone time. You
yeah,
know, and since we've met up and since we've been talking about it, you know, he's like, I've realized that I've never been exposed to that kind of time by myself, and now looking back on the time that I've had by myself, I'm incredibly grateful for it because I'm so grateful that there's been so many of those moments of growth and those so many of those moments of, you know, reconsideration of who I am, you know,
yeah,
and kind of like you said, you know, we've started things which we would never have started. We've started, you know, we've kind of evolved a friendship that was already there, but we've had time to cultivate it virtually and then work on new business ideas, which we're now super excited to kind of start to activate, you know. And it's yeah, I mean, it's been a very unique journey, and I think that, you know, it's I guess this week's takeaway of Wellness Watch would be very much to kind of, you know, be easy on yourself and to kind of just, you know, realize that everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's adapting and everyone's adjusting to it, you know?
And I think a good mantra too, not to like force mantras onto people, but what I try to tell myself a lot is like, today is today, and
Yeah.
that's all it is. It's today. It's not
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's not next month. It's not a year from now. It's not 10 years from now. Today is today.
Yeah.
So if you're having a shitty day, you're having a shitty couple days, like, let it be there. Like, leave it there. Like, I think that's the other thing with, especially COVID. It was like, started out as this thing where we're going into lockdown for 2 weeks, then a
Yeah.
month, then 2 months, then 3 months. And now here we are, like a year and a half later, still deciding whether being in lockdown is a good idea or not. And
Totally.
it's a lot when you can't figure out what's going to be going on in a month. So you
Yeah.
have to allow yourself to accept that, like, today is today, like one
Yeah.
foot in front of the other, because that's all we can really do. Like, I mean, I didn't even think we could go to Europe like a month ago, and now
Yeah.
we can, and like, thank God, because we could see our family and I get to see you and stuff. But like, I might show up in Spain and they might be like, "Hey, you aren't allowed to leave your house."
Yeah. 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 Now, I think you're going to be judging by how everything's going over here. I think that
But I'm
it's
saying, like, there's
great time.
still that anxiety, and like,
Mhm.
I have it. I'm sure other people have it. I'm sure a lot of people are the flip where they're like, "I don't even care now," and so it's like you're really battling. It's a battle right now. It's a
Yeah.
battle. Like, you are really battling everything. You're battling the elements. You're battling the unknown. Like, and I think that's why, like, we have to like encourage people to just like accept how they feel.
Exactly, 100%, man. I mean, and again, taking that you time and putting yourself first. I mean, obviously, there's different situations where that's difficult, and I appreciate that. For instance, I think that's something that you speak so poetically about, in the sense that, obviously, being a new dad and stuff like that as well. You have to always put your daughter first.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the kind of a game changer in that sense. But I think that you know looking after yourself and your own is the priority. Do you know what I mean? And not in a selfish way, but in a way that recognizing your wants and your family's wants, and being like, that's okay. That's okay for us to want to put that first, opposed to kind of making that dinner reservation with friends that we both
Okay.
feel uneasy about doing.
Yeah, and on the flip side, it's okay to not do that. It's okay to
Yeah,
be like, hey, I'm not ready to have a family, and I'm not ready to like get married, and I'm not ready for a relationship because I want to go like swim in the sea of life. Like, do
go
that
for it.
too. I think it's just like encouraging yourself to like be an individual, because we're also in a weird time, in my opinion. Like, a lot of things are homogenized now. It's like people look X, Y, and Z. They don't really look W. And it's like, I'm starting to see that shift because obviously the collective experience has been so individual. And
Yeah,
I think encourage yourself to do that too. Like, have your own way of dressing or whatever, have your own way of thought. Like, think for yourself, like, feel your own things. Like, before COVID, it was like, if you had an opinion and I didn't have that opinion, I was scared to tell you mine, because
Mhm.
that's how I felt. Because it was like, oh, well, if Sam doesn't agree with me, he like won't want to be my friend anymore. And now it's like, dude, I'll like tell you my opinion. And if you're like, mate, you're insane, I'll be like, well, then I'm insane to you. Whatever. Call you tomorrow. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, we have to learn to not be so polarized, I think, socially, because we're living through such a like mental time. I mean, especially speaking as an American, like, dude, we just went through the craziest pandemic ever with like two political parties that like literally couldn't agree on anything.
Yeah,
Like, that is hardcore.
yeah,
Like, we couldn't agree on helping people. That's how bad it was here. We couldn't agree on that people needed help.
man, it's
What?
wild. Yeah, I mean, again, like, it's been so much that's happened over the last, and even over the last, like, yeah, five. I feel like 2 to 10 years. It's just been.
Yeah.
Again, I was speaking about this with someone else the other day, and about just how rapidly society has changed over the last kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I think since like I think since September 11th. I think that was kind of like one of like the big like in my eyes, like one of the big features that then kind of like set us on this very new course
I
of
think that was the first time, at least in our lifetime, that society realized that they aren't invincible, that we're not invincible, especially as Americans, is like, like things can happen to you just like
yeah,
it happens to other people. And it took it out of the TV and put it in our front door. And it was like, whoa. And I think that's been happening a lot lately, especially with COVID. It's like something you can't see. And then someone gets it and gets sick. And then it's like you turn on the TV and it's like so scary and like da 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 da. And that's huge. That's huge. That does a lot to someone's psyche. Like whether you think it does or doesn't, like even the way you handle yourself, think about it, just wearing a mask.
for sure. Sure. I mean, well, exactly. I mean, it creates such a, yeah, I mean, it's a lot's changed.
So
Something's been
sam,
better than something. Yeah. You know.
so Sam, I want to move away from COVID because
Yeah, please. Let's go. Bye, COVID. Bye. Ciao. Au revoir. It's nice knowing you.
I think Wellness Watch can do a lot of things for a lot of people. So another
Yeah.
thing I want to talk about, because I've been seeing this happen a lot, and I think a lot of it is detrimental, especially like given that we are in the wellness community. I think there is a lot of focus right now on like exercise and diet and like being physically fit. And
Mm.
like a lot of people are like, one, it's how you combat COVID. Not to
Yeah.
bring it back to COVID, but two,
Yeah.
get that COVID 20.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, Sam and I are sitting in front of you guys, and like we're both fit, we're both pretty skinny, we both eat well. But I want to talk about how we don't do those things because we need you to think that we look good. We do those things because that's just how we are.
Mhm.
And if you're not like that, that's fine. And I think that's another thing I really, especially in Open Up, it's like I'm so happy you're drinking a beer and I'm like smoking my dumb vape pen because I want people to know that like we are in the wellness community, but that doesn't mean that like we're like, pushing like vegan and like all this stuff. Like I've had stints of vegan. Sam does that. Like we're
Mhm.
not into these things, but like you don't need to exist in this box of wellness either. And I really think a lot of the things I've been seeing are like truly detrimental, I think.
For sure, man.
And like let's just dissect it for a second. Look, being dormant for long extended periods of time isn't healthy. We know
Mhm.
that. Like you have to move your body. Now, do you need to like lift weights and like go crazy? No. Walk around your house. Like whatever it is, all good. We know like that's factual. We know we can't lay in bed all day.
Mhm.
Now, what mental health tells us, and Sam and I have talked to a lot of mental health experts, is that if you need to lay in bed all day, you need to lay in bed all day.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to do that. And don't make it about, oh, I'm getting fat. Oh, I've laid in bed all day. Oh, I'm a loser. Sometimes you have to lay in bed all day. I know I do that even as a father. I try. Like sometimes Max goes down for a nap and I take a nap with her and I ignore all my emails for an hour because I have to for me.
Yeah.
And I won't once sit there and go like, oh, I'm a slacker. I'm losing it. Like I'm fat, blah, 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 because I'm allowing myself to take a pause. Now, I don't have the ability to do that all day because my daughter is 9 months old and wants to party all the time. But like, if I did, I would do that for sure. Now,
Yeah.
also like working out. I try to work out 3 times a week. Now, working out for me looks very different all the time. Sometimes I do really intense workouts. Sometimes I just take a walk. Sometimes I do hot yoga. Sometimes I do sit ups. Like for me, I just have to move my body sometimes to like feel better and it helps me sleep a little bit. I'm a person too that has a lot of anxiety issues and for me that has helped those things. But all I see on Instagram, dude, even on Open Up Dad, which is a completely different algorithm to my personal Instagram, is like workout machines and dietary supplements and da da da. And it's like, yeah, some of these things are great. They're awesome, but like we cannot like we can, personally, I don't think the wellness community in general, and like, let's just call it out. Like, I don't think we can continue to make people feel bad about themselves because I think we are making people feel bad about themselves.
For sure. I mean, there's, it's just continuous, it's a continuous body shaming. It's a continuous kind of ethnic cleansing, it's a continuous kind of whitewashing of so much as well. And I think that you're 100% right. I think wellness doesn't look just one way. We all adapt to wellness in a multitude of aspects. And it is whatever works for you. We're all unique. We're all beautiful, no matter what color our skin is or what shape we are or what size we are, and I think that, yeah, that's something that is so important. And I really hope that Wellness Watch, although, we're two guys talking about our experiences with it, I really hope that it encourages other people to kind of recognize that there is a multitude of ways to do it. And I think that what we're going to explore over the coming weeks and months of this new show and this new format is kind of, new ways of doing that, recipes and smoothies and things that work for us, because ultimately the only person you can gauge the journey of is yourself, right? But I think you're 100% right. I mean, I really find it very discouraging. I mean, I'm a yoga teacher, right? I've studied yoga, and I still never go to a yoga studio because I find it mortifyingly terrifying to go in. You know what I mean? Because I'm kind of like, oh God, am I going to be able to touch my toes? Am I going to fart? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like,
on,
there's so
on the
many fears that come with it.
And on the flip side of that is like, I'm like a very like athletic person, I was a competitive swimmer most of my life. Like, I can like keep up with the best of them, even as like a stupid smoker for most of my life. But, I'm a pretty athletic guy, and I go to hot yoga, and I'm like the only one who can't touch my toes. I'm the only one who can't even get through a class usually. I'm the only one. And like, I feel so safe in there because I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, because I feel like that community, like at my studio, at least, like they don't care. Like, I remember once I apologized to the teacher. I was like, I'm really sorry. I sat through half the class, and he was like, why?
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I didn't even do it. And he's like, dude, this isn't like Olympic trials. Like, if you want to come to class and literally just lay down, like, go ahead. Like,
Yeah.
maybe that's your yoga today.
Exactly.
You know?
100%. What a great teacher.
I mean, but that's like, I'm just using that as an example because, like, I'm just the flip of you. It's like I have no desire to even know about yoga. Like, I just like going because I like to sweat. Like, like I like to leave my phone in the other room too. Like, that's my wellness. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think also, Sam, I would love, maybe we should use this opportunity too to like call out some of the stuff that we got going on, because I feel like we've been hinting at some stuff, but maybe it's time to like have a little conversation about what it is, what the hell we're doing, because there's a lot going on right now.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's it's bonkers. I mean, it's open up since its formation last year. It's just kind of taken on such a multifaceted, diverse realm. What started as a retreats company has kind of beautifully and organically evolved into this kind of multi-platformed entity. And it's been so humbling to watch, and you're right, Miles. There's so many things in the works. We have just sold out of our first wellness retreat in Tulum, Mexico, at the end of October with Mickey Ash. We sold out within 72 hours. It was a phenomenal response, and I'm so excited for that. We have the very early stages of putting together a scheduled calendar for a number of other retreats next year in 2022. At Open Up Dad, you've been super busy with incredible brand partnerships throughout June, which has been so amazing. And again, incredible to partner with so many people so especially since it's only been going for a few months itself, you know, and it's been so admirable to watch. And I know that there's so many more brand partnerships that are in the works as well, which
Well, it's
is
been nice too because it's like I feel like they're all brands that like really align with our ethos, and it doesn't feel off-brand in any way, which has been like, I mean, if you're gonna do any partnerships, if you can do it that way, it's just the best, you know.
exactly, man, exactly. You know, I'm currently in the works of producing a little mini series myself. Hopefully in New York in September, which I'm very excited for as well, which is be continuing the conversation of mental health, well-being, life journey, all of those things. We've obviously launched Open Up Kids as well, which is kind of a platform which will be expanding the community over the coming weeks. And then, yeah, you know, me and Miles obviously doing Wellness Watch now, which again is going to be this weekly segment every Sunday where we discuss a variety of things and obviously offer our check-ins, our takeaways from the week, as well as kind of a multitude of things like recipes, maybe kind of like a couple of like potential workout ideas. Again, us just kind of like speaking to you guys, showing the things that we're doing as we make it up as we go along, you know, as we figure it out. So yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot. I mean, there's also books in the pipeline and all those kind of things. But you know, I mean, it's like you said. I think that one of my things that I've recognized over this coming time is that take 1 month at a time, one thing at a time, and keep slowly moving forward. But it's been, you know, I mean, we're obviously delighted to have you as part of the team and part of the family, Miles. And you know, as we grow, you know, we're growing this beautiful thing organically together. So it's yeah, man, it's good times ahead, but scary as hell, you know. And and you know, I'm sure that anyone who's watching who's started something from COVID is, you know, can recognize that as well. You know, again, kind of taking something that has started predominantly out of a bedroom has now evolved into a real life business, you know, and that's kind of comes with a lot of different feelings as well.
And multi-nation, like international. It's been fun. I mean, it's great. I think also what I would love for Wellness Watch, because like you said, like this is a new show for us, and we thought it was really important to have Sam and I just be in your face once a week.
Hello, here I am. Hello, hello.
But, you know, I think it's also this is like a really great way to like open up our channels to our audience and like hear what you guys want from us too, because like obviously we have started this thing that is a little bit maybe avant-garde in the space or whatever, but I think the biggest part of Open Up is like we're just trying to learn as we go and give platform to our new knowledge. And I think, you know, just like hearing from everyone has been so fun. And that's also why like we have all these new things coming out, is because people have like asked us for them, which has been really fun too, Sam. Like not being the like, you know, behind the switchboard being like, we need to make a podcast, we need to make a show, like people being like, can you please make a podcast, can you please do a show? And like now we're in the works, like Open Up Dad is going to become a podcast, which is amazing because we could reach more people that way, which Sam and I didn't even really think about, but now we're like, oh, obviously this makes sense. And but hearing from you guys and like getting information from you is like what helps us grow and what helps us like get excited, because you know we're literally, like Sam said, like we just started doing this over FaceTime for fun in COVID, you know. Like
It's wild. And flash forward 6 months, you know, I mean, we spoke 6 months ago, and I mean, look where we're at now, you know. I mean, it's been an incredible journey thus far. But yeah, the podcast is going to be wild, bro. I'm super excited for what you're going to be putting together for that. It's going to be incredible. And like you said, you know, the reaction has been such that, you know, we've got such an active community on Open Up Dad. And, you know, I mean, and every person I've spoken to on this side of the pond, when I'm describing what Open Up is, I'm always like, you know, and then we've got Miles over in LA, he's doing Open Up Dad, he's a new parent, he's talking about fatherhood, and everyone's jaw always drops to the ground. They're like, wow, that's incredible. Like, that's so needed. And I'm so, you know, like, I'd love to listen to that. And I mean, it's been super inspiring what you've done so far, and I think that there's already many a person out there who has found a lot of points that you've raised very relatable. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, same for you, man. I mean, it's just been great, and I'm hoping, like, obviously the next wellness watch, we won't be just splurting out things that we have going on, but I think this is really important because I just want people to also see that, like, behind the curtain, like, Sam's drinking a non-alcoholic beer, and like I'm hanging out in my backyard, and like we're just people, and like all we're doing is trying to like help ourselves through the lens of this thing we created, and I hope it's just doing that for everyone.
Sure, man, for sure. And I think, I think there's so many points that we've already touched on so far today, which is exactly what Wellness Watch is about. And yeah, hopefully in the future, as I said, it's going to come with a lot of other different things, from recipes to kind of a whole range of different segments. We want to obviously have guests on as well, talking about their journeys, music that we're listening to, films that we're watching.
I'm really excited to get some guests that are probably a little bit left field for Open Up. It's going to be really fun.
It's going to be great. And also, this is a new platform for us, YouTube, Zoom. Yeah. Something we're trying out, getting away from the wild and spontaneous algorithm of Instagram. I mean, I just can't actually. I can't even talk about it right now. It drives me bonkers at the moment.
Wellness watch, man. Like, get off Instagram. Like,
exactly,
I
man.
was noticing that yesterday. I was just like, God, I've been on Instagram for 30 minutes and I just feel terrible about myself.
Yeah. It's what I mean. It's crazy. I think a lot of people are starting to kind of switch on to that kind of vibe.
I mean, I say this as someone who's like, my whole Instagram right now is just work stuff, but like, I feel it too.
Yeah, man. It's a wild time. Anyway, bud, what's on for the rest of your day?
I'm gonna go do a shoot I'm producing in Malibu, and then I don't know, hang out. Got a kind of busy week, but then like got some Open Up Dad stuff we got to get done.
Perfect.
All good things.
Groovy, baby. Sounds great.
All right, man. Well, we'll see you next week.
Next week, second episode of Wellness Watch.
We should do a little song.
I really wanted to start the show with a song, but I haven't thought of it yet. So let's think about that. I don't know what kind of like genre would you want it to be?
There has to be like really punk or like very Brady Bunch.
Okay, like what about like Wellness Watch. Okay, I love it. Well, that's a work in progress, everyone. That's
Please send us your songs.
Please send us recommendations. Okay, brother. Peace. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. Ciao, bud.
Ciao.